Hail Internet and happy holidays! Today is a modified Dork Lord of the Rings segment. I was trying to come up with a fun holiday video concept, and my wife, Jackie, had the best idea. A reading from Tolkien's Father Christmas letters. Oh, we're about to get interrupted by Christmas Kitty, Kittalore. Hey, Kittalore, say hi to everybody. All right, so she also got me a book of the letters as a gift. Kittalore appreciates it. Okay, very good. Okay, I'm going to put you down. In case you're not familiar with Tolkien's Father Christmas letters, the backstory is so heartwarming that it will make you love Tolkien all the more. So, I've got my D20 mug filled with hot chocolate. Let's do this. So, Tolkien had 4 children: John, Michael, Christopher, and Priscilla, his youngest child. She was born in 1929. In December of 1920, Tolkien wrote a fairly simple letter to his 3-year-old John from the North Pole, and he included some artwork. So here we go, the 1920 Father Christmas letter. Christmas House, North Pole, December 22nd, 1920. Dear John, I heard you ask Daddy what I was like and where I lived. I have drawn me and my house for you. Take care of the picture. I am just off now for Oxford with my bundle of toys. Some for you. Hope I shall arrive in time. The snow is very thick at the North Pole tonight. Your loving Father Christmas. And I should note that it's postmarked from the North Pole, which is a great touch. I mean, imagine 3-year-old John getting this letter from Father Christmas. The sheer joy that it would have given him. It's amazing. And if this was any other family, that's probably the end of it. Remember that year when Dad sent that letter from Father Christmas and drew a picture? That was awesome. But this is J.R.R. Tolkien. One thing we know about him, he commits to an idea. So, for the next 23 years, he composed ever more elaborate letters from the North Pole, creating a mythology. The first inkling of that mythology comes in 1924, when we're introduced to Father Christmas's assistant. December 23rd, 1924. Dear John, hope you have a happy Christmas. Only time for a short letter. My sleigh is waiting. Lots of new stockings to fill this year. A big kiss with love from Father Christmas. P.S. Father Christmas was in great hurry. Told me to put in one of his magic wishing crackers. As you pull, wish, and see if it doesn't come true. Excuse thick writing, I have a fat paw. I help Father Christmas with his packing. I live with him. I am the Great Polar Bear. So we meet the Great Polar Bear. This character continues all the way through the rest of his letters. Many times, Tolkien would write the letter as Father Christmas and then write a silly running commentary from the Great Polar Bear. He also wrote in a shaky script suggesting that Father Christmas was too cold to write properly. Here's a fun example of the misadventures of the Great Polar Bear from 1926. Cliff House, top of the world, near the North Pole, Monday, December 20th, 1926. My dear boys, I am more shaky than usual this year. The North Polar Bear's fault. It was the biggest bang in the world, and the most monstrous firework there has ever been. It turned the North Pole black, and shook all the stars out of place, broke the moon into 4. And the man in it fell into my back garden. He ate quite a lot of my Christmas chocolates before he said he felt better, and climbed back to mend it and get the stars tidy. Then I found out that the reindeer had broken loose. They were running all over the country, breaking reins and ropes and tossing presents up in the air. They were all packed up to start, you see. Yes, it only happened this morning. It was a sleigh load of chocolate things, which I always send to England early. I hope yours are not badly damaged. But isn't the North Polar Bear silly? And he isn't a bit sorry. Of course he did it. You remember, I had to move last year. Because of him. The tap for turning on the Rory Borealis fireworks is still in the cellar of my old house. The North Polar Bear knew he must never touch it. I only let it off on special days like Christmas. He says he thought it was cut off since we moved. Anyway, he was nosing around the ruins this morning soon after breakfast. He hides things to eat there. And turned on all the northern lights for 2 years in one go. You've never heard or seen anything like it. I've tried to draw a picture of it, but I'm too shaky to do it properly, and you can't paint fizzing lights, can you? I think the polar bear has spoilt the picture, rather. Of course, he can't draw with those great fat paws. Rude. I can, and write without shaking. By putting a bit of his own in it in the middle about me chasing the reindeer and him laughing. He did laugh, too. So did I when I saw him trying to draw reindeer and inking his nice white paws. Father Christmas had to hurry away and leave me to finish. He is old and gets worried when funny things happen. You would have laughed too. I think it is good of me laughing. It was a lovely firework. The reindeer will run quick to England this year. They're still frightened. I must go and help pack. I don't know what Father Christmas would do without me. He always forgets what a lot of packing I do for him. The snowman is addressing our envelopes this year. He is Father Christmas's gardener, but we don't get much but snowdrops and frost ferns to grow here. He always writes in white, just with his finger. A Merry Christmas to you from North Polar Bear. And love from Father Christmas to you all. So as the years go by, the canon of these Christmas letters grows. We get snowmen, cave bears, the great polar bear's nephews, Paksu and Valkotuka, red gnomes, and yes, elves and goblins, including an elf named Ilbereth, who is Father Christmas's secretary. Ilbereth sounds a lot like Elbereth, Queen of the Valar, revered by the elves in the Silmarillion. So we see some crossover. This mythology culminates in Tolkien's longest letter in 1932. I'll read an excerpt from it because it actually includes a message for his kids to solve, written in Polar Bear's own alphabet. From 1932. We have had a rush, but dear old Cave Bear and his sons and the gnome ladies helped, so that we are now very well forward and all packed. I hope there is not the faintest smell of goblin about any of your things. They've all been well aired. There are still a few railway things missing, but I hope you will have what you want. I am not able to carry quite as much toy cargo as usual this year, as I am taking a good deal of food and clothes, useful stuff. There are far too many people in your land, and others, who are hungry and cold this winter. I am glad that with you the weather is warmish. It is not warm here. We have had tremendous icy winds and terrific snowstorms, and my old house is quite buried. But I'm feeling very well, better than ever, and though my hand wobbles with a pen, partly because I don't like writing as much as drawing, which I learned first, I don't think it is so wobbly this year. The polar bear got your father's scribble today, and was very puzzled by it. I told him it looked like old lecture notes, and he laughed. He says he thinks Oxford is quite a mad place if people lecture such stuff, but I don't suppose anyone listens to it. The drawings pleased him better. He said, "At any rate, those boys' father tried to draw bears, though they aren't good. Of course, it's all nonsense, but I will answer it." So, he made up an alphabet from the marks in the caves. He says it is much nicer than the ordinary letters, or than runes, or polar letters, and suits his paw better. He writes them with the tail of his penholder. He has sent a short letter to you in this alphabet to wish you a very Merry Christmas and lots of fun in the new year and good luck at school. As you are all so clever now, he says, what with Latin and French and Greek, you will easily read it and see that Polar Bear sends much love. I am not so sure. Anyway, I dare say he would send you a copy of his alphabet if you wrote and asked. By the way, he writes it in columns from top to bottom, not across. Don't tell him I gave away his secret. This is one of my very longest letters. It's been an exciting time. I hope you will like hearing about it. I send you all my love, John, Michael, Christopher, and Priscilla. Also Mummy and Daddy and Auntie, and all the people in your house. I dare say John will feel he's got to give up stockings now and give way to the many new children that have arrived since he first began to hang his up. But Father Christmas will not forget him. Bless you all. Your loving, Nicholas Christmas. I love the use of the polar bear symbols. And note that Tolkien doesn't give the key to translate these symbols for 4 years. It shows up in the 1936 letter. You can see Tolkien's love of language and linguistics in these letters. Here's an excerpt from his 1937 letter. Ilbereth is writing with occasional interjections from the great polar bear. We had a glorious bonfire and fireworks to celebrate the coming of winter and the beginning of real preparations. The snow came down very thick in November, and the elves and snowboys had several tobogganing half-holidays. The polar cubs were not good at it. They fell off, and most of them took to rolling or sliding down just on themselves. Today, but this is the best bit, I just finished this picture, or I would have drawn it differently. Polar Bear was being allowed to decorate a big tree in the garden, all by himself, and a ladder. Suddenly I heard terrible growly, squealy noises. We rushed out to find Polar Bear hanging on the tree himself. "You are not a decoration," said Father Christmas. "Anyway, I'm all right," he shouted. He was. We threw a bucket of water over him, which spoilt a lot of the decorations, but saved his fur. Silly old thing had rested the ladder against a branch instead of the trunk of the tree. Then he thought, I'll just light the candles to see if they're working, although he was told not to. So he climbed to the tip of the ladder with a taper. Just then the branch cracked, the ladder slipped on the snow, and Polar Bear fell into the tree and caught on some wire, and his fur got caught on fire. Poor joke. Luckily, he was rather damp, or he might have fizzled. I wonder if roast polar is good to eat. Not as good as well-spanked and fried elf. The last picture is imaginary and not very good, but I hope it will come true. It will if Polar Bear behaves. I hope you can read my writing. I try to write like dear old Father Christmas, without the trembles. But I cannot do so well. I can write Elvish better. That is some, but Father Christmas says I write even that too spidery, and you would never read it. It says, "A very Merry Christmas to you all. Love, Ilbereth." 1937, the year of that letter, complete with Elvish runes, was also the year that The Hobbit was published. So, to finish off, I'm going to jump ahead to the last Christmas letter, written to 14-year-old Priscilla in 1943. There's a bittersweet quality to it because his youngest child is now a teenager, aging out of the Christmas letter motif. And of course, World War II is ravaging Europe, 1943. Cliff House, North Pole, Christmas, 1943. My dear Priscilla, a very happy Christmas. I suppose you'll be hanging up your stocking just once more. I hope so, for I have still a few little things for you. After this, I shall have to say goodbye, more or less. I mean, I shall not forget you. We always keep the old numbers of our old friends and their letters, and later on we hope to come back when they're grown up and have houses of their own and children. My messengers tell me that people call it grim this year. I think they mean miserable. And so it is, I fear, in very many places where I was especially fond of going. But I'm very glad to hear that you are still not really miserable. Don't be. I'm still very much alive and shall come back again soon, as merry as ever. There's been no damage in my country, and though my stocks are running rather low, I hope soon to put that right. Polar Bear, too tired to write himself, so he says, I am, really, sends a special message to you. Love and a hug. He says, do ask if she still has a bear called Silly Billy, or something like that, or is he worn out? Give my love to the others, John and Michael and Christopher, and of course to all your pets that you used to tell me about. As I have not got very many of the things you usually want, I'm sending you some nice, bright, clean money. I have lots of that, more than you have, I expect, but that's not very much use to me. Perhaps it will be to you. You might find it useful to buy a book with that you really want. Very much love from your old friend, Father Christmas. And that is the end of the letters from Father Christmas. Of course, a decade later, Tolkien would be publishing another composition about elves and goblins and runes, The Lord of the Rings, of course. And in fact, hobbits celebrate Yule in the last week of the year, so he included the holiday in Middle-earth. Here's wishing you a happy holiday and a Merry New Year. Bye, everybody.